Next on my list is Hancock. This film is about a superhero who's kind of like another version of the Satan character.
Suspects on northbound 110. Heavy gunfire exchanged. We need backup.
Fellas, listen, give yourselves up quietly. Okay.
Hancock's latest act of so-called heroics has once again enraged city officials.
I can smell that liquor on your breath.
Because I've been drinking.
The Satan character being, an actual hero who, okay, isn't an amazing hero, isn't actually saving people, but, can have the power to save people and has a lot of power because, Satan is one of the most well-known characters in Christianity. And if Martin can prove that he's Satan, then he will suddenly get a huge amount of power and people will look up to him, especially all the Satanists, because there's quite a lot of Satanists or Luciferians that would want to know who this Lucifer character is and would want to listen to this character. He would get a lot of fame if he could prove that he's this Satan guy. So Satan does have a lot of power. But like in the film, a lot of people hate Satan, just like a lot of people hate this superhero.
People don't like you, Hancock.
I look like I care what people think.
I think you're wasting your time with this guy.
Pulled some stuff up on YouTube. Everybody remembers Walter, the gray whale. He was stuck on the beach. Along comes Hancock.
Oh my God.
I don't even remember that.
Greenpeace does.
And this is what's happened to this Hancock character. He's got a bad reputation. People don't like him. People don't want him. He's got power, but he's not really using it to the best of his ability. And this is kind of the Satan character.
You're a superhero, for God's sakes. People should love you.
How are we going to do that, Ray?
Right now there's a DA trying to figure out how to come up here and put you in jail. I say you go.
He's not gonna go.
People take you for granted, We got to make people miss you.
If you don't move, your head is going to piss.
Martin, he has a huge amount of power. Why? Because he's the father. Only there's no evidence that he's actually done anything good in the last 3 years. Ever since I found out I was the God and I told him that he was the father, there's no evidence that he's actually done anything good in the world. Because all he's ever done since I've met him is ignore me and told the celebrities, but the celebrities have just ganged up on me. But anyway, how the film goes is he then later finds out that there is someone else like him. At first he's depressed and miserable because he thinks he's the only person here, the only one of his kind, which is how I feel. I feel depressed and miserable.
You have a calling. You're a hero, Hancock. You're going to be miserable the rest of your life until you accept that.
Life here can be difficult for me. After all, I'm the only one of my kind.
And if you watch this, I'm sure you can understand why I feel depressed and miserable. He said it's because he woke up in the hospital one day and he couldn't remember who he was. He couldn't remember anything about his life, and no one was there to come and help him. No one was there to help him wake up and tell him who he was. And this is what happened with me. I found out that I was a god, and no one was there to help me wake up, and no one was there to tell me what was going on and who knew about what and why people were just ignoring me. But later in the film he actually finds out that there is another blonde girl who's actually his wife, only the problem is they're not allowed to be together. They have to be separate. If they get together then they're gonna die. I feel like this is the story between me and Martin if we don't remain separate for 3.5 years. Only it's not referring to what will happen to us, but rather what will happen to the world. The world will die, not us. This film could be prophesying that if me and Martin don't go through this sacrifice, then the world can't be made in our image, because I believe things that I'm going through now are helping to inspire and influence the past. And so we have to be separate for the past to exist. By that I mean, in the last few years I feel like my soul has been poured out of me, and I feel like people are made in my image and have a similar sort of mindset as me because of what I've gone through, and I feel like this is what's inspired things like the Bible and other things. Of course, the further back you go, the worse things get, because you're further away from my information and light, but I feel like I have inspired things of the past, and so that means if I didn't go through what I'm going through now, then the past wouldn't be the same that it has been. One thing I don't understand is why it has to be this long, why I have to go through this much suffering. And right now I don't think us being separate is actually helping the world. I think it's harming the world. It's definitely harming ourselves, because I feel like I'm dying without him, whereas this film has twisted it and says that you die if you join. But it definitely feels like there's some sort of spiritual prophecy in this, because it's all about a partner, a relationship, two people destined to be together, two souls, one male, one female, one's blonde like me, the other's coloured like Michael Jackson, And Will Smith happens to be my third favourite actor. In the film, the girl does say that people call her angels, gods, whatever. It's all the same thing, which is what people have called me. Although I like a few of the quotes. The woman makes it clear that she's the more powerful one. The woman makes it clear that she knows more about what's going on than he does. She is the one with the power and control, but she's the one that's hiding it because she doesn't want people to see her as being different. So I can relate to that in a sense too. And, they have to go through a separation, which is what me and Martin are going through. Although I do think they've got one or two things backwards, because their version of it is that we're not allowed to be together because they'll die, whereas my telling is I'll die if we're separate. And I was so heartbroken when I watched this film because I just felt so much pain being like, oh my gosh, is this film saying that we're never going to see each other again? We're not allowed to see each other again. This just gave me the worst feeling ever. When you really love someone and you watch a film like this and it's telling you that you're not going to be together, it's just really, really painful. But this is what happens in the film.
You deserve better from me. I will be better.
It ends by her finding someone different and marrying, and him too probably finding someone else. But this is what will happen to me and this Satan character, because technically Martin Dodd isn't actually anything like this guy.
Fellas, listen, give yourselves up quietly. Okay.
Hancock's latest act of so-called heroics has once again enraged city officials.
I can smell that liquor on your breath.
Because I've been drinking.
I want someone that can actually make a difference and actually wants to help people. Or should I say, just someone that doesn't have such a bad attitude as the Hancock character. I did want a guy that would save the world, but after being tormented by the world for 3.5 years, I now want a guy that just can look after me. And someone that wants lots of hugs. Martin has treated me really shitly in the past.
Do I have permission to touch your body? It's not sexual. Maybe on a different day. Get me out of here!
But hopefully he wants to change, which is just what the character does. Hancock's made loads of mistakes in the past and he wants to change, and hopefully Martin will feel the same way.
I need you to end this.
Hancock is down. He looks hurt.
That's it. Make it look hard.
In the film, he does his best to help and to make a difference. And so he says some encouraging words. Will Smith's also one of my favourite actors. So I love this film. He plays the character very well. The next film I want to talk about is Ghostbusters. There's 3 of them throughout most of the film, and then right at the end there's 4, which is symbolic of the 4 horsemen. Like, there's 3 at the beginning and then 1 comes right at the very end. And while the whole of the film is about
Ghostbusters.
Hey, anybody see a ghost?
They catch the ghost that won't stay dead. They're armed. They're dangerous.
Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
All right, that's bad. Okay. All right, important safety tip. Thanks, Egon.
They're professionals.
Oh, I'm the chairman of the largest paranormal removal company in America.
And while the whole of the film is about these 2 people being possessed, a man and a female being possessed, and it's about some sort of consummation between them.
They're all that stands between you and the end of the world.
It's believed that they have to be separated to stop this consummation or this joining, because when they do join there'll be a ritual that happens that's going to open up a pyramid and call forth this sort of goddess-looking demon, and this goddess demon is going to raise all the dead and basically end the world, cause some sort of apocalypse. There's huge amount of significance and prophecy in this.
This city is headed for a disaster of biblical proportion. Real wrath of God type stuff. Exactly. Fire and brimstone coming down from the sky. Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
There's huge amount of significance and prophecy in this. 1, because, the thing that came out right at the end is a female. 2, because there's a male and a female who are really passionately feeling love towards each other, only they don't even know each other. Which is exactly how I feel towards Martin, because I don't really know anything about him. Also, he's never been very nice to me, but I still love him, which doesn't make any sense.
Your girlfriend lives in the corner penthouse of Spook Central.
You want this body?
Is this a trick question?
In the film, this couple turns into like 2 beasts.
Ghostbusters.
It's also really funny. and it's a film that I'd recommend watching. The next film on my list is Haunted. It's about a professor who conducts an experiment to test people's fear, but he has to do this inside a creepy looking house.
There once was a house, a bright, happy home. Something bad happened. Now it sits all alone.
Is this where you're going?
That's Hill House. It's perfect, isn't it?
All the candidates that he chooses have some sort of psychological disorder.
You all suffer from sleep disorders. My job is to find out why.
What's the deal with the Addams Family Mansion? I gotta be honest, I don't get a real strong sleep vibe from this place.
Don't you love it here? This is so twisted.
The house kind of reminds me of Earth, you know. I think Earth is all backwards and twisted, and that's how they describe this house. The flat that I bought in Seven Kings I thought was also very cursed. So this is kind of like another interpretation of that. The candidates think that it's a study on sleep, but really it's actually a study to test people's fear. And it's true that the God of the Bible rules by fear, and testing people's threshold, I guess.
Calling it an insomnia study allows me to create a highly suggestive environment to observe the dynamics of fear. You don't tell the rats they're actually in a maze.
I just think Dr. Marrow's up to something.
But anyway, he ends up attracting this woman to apply. This woman's called Eleanor.
Have you ever kept something to yourself because you were afraid?
All the time.
I'm sorry.
You scared the...
And she has like an association with the house because the ghosts of the house believe that she's like the mother.
Oh my God, what's happening?
The one that's going to have to take care of them and help the children escape, the children who were tortured by this other guy. So you've got like the bad father character, and then you've got the mother character that has to save. And this has similarities to what I'm going through because I guess I'm the one that has to save people from the thing that created the dinosaurs. Madonna is kind of my God representation. So if you think about her custody battle with her son, he wants to be with the father, but she wants to have him. If you kind of imagine that in the spirit realm, you know, the people want to be of the father. Only in this scenario, they're not wanting to be with their actual father, the father of the human species. They're wanting to be with the father of Earth, which is far worse. I didn't believe in the devil or this thing, but I think with the level of evil that is in this world, I really do believe in this now.
None of this is real.
Oh, it is real.
Humans on Earth want to be with the father. The only problem is they're getting confused between the father of the human species, which is Satan, and the father of Earth, which is the thing that just wants animals to hunt and kill each other.
Oh my God. It's definitely her. I mean, it's definitely. Excuse me. I think you are. Yeah, it's so much more than I thought she was.
Don't get me wrong, this thing is still essential because it's the circle of life. You kill so you can feed yourself and then you can eat and grow strong. So you'll never be able to get rid of the predator instinct from Earth. But as humans that are now smart, you know, you need to be able to tell the difference between something that's wrong and something that's right. I've called it a father in this picture, but really just don't call it a he or a she, just call it an it. I think you can degrade it by calling it it rather than associating it with being either male or female. In the film, the woman gets persecuted by this demon, just like Babylon the Great has been persecuted, just like I have been persecuted. Only the Christians are on its side and not my side. But really, I don't think anyone's on my side. I think I'm the only one on my side and everyone else is either on its side or the father's side. I said in the last part of this series that you should be able to tell the difference between the Queen of the Damned type of character and the Ursula type of character. You know, the Ursula is clearly far worse. I think in the same way you should be able to tell the difference between Satan, who's a little bit like the professor that wants to lie to people to conduct experiments. That's kind of more the Satan type of bad. And then you've got the real evil on top of that literally does just want to cause suffering and pain. I keep thinking over and over again, who's done this to me? Who's done this to me? And that's the only conclusion I can come up with. It's the only thing that makes sense, because I wouldn't do this to myself. The next film I'm going to bring up is The Da Vinci Code. This has huge significance just because the whole story is that there's a big secret in the Illuminati.
We have observed history. We are in history now. We are in the middle of a war, one that's been going on forever, to protect a secret so powerful that if revealed, it would devastate the very foundations of mankind.
And it turns out to be the Holy Grail, which is actually a woman, a descendant of Jesus.
Witness the biggest cover-up in human history.
The secret is supposed to be a secret bloodline, like a living human being who's alive right now and is actually a descendant of Jesus.
I'm into something here I can't understand.
What they do both agree on is that the Holy Grail is actually a woman.
The Bible, as we know it, was finally presided over by one man, the pagan Emperor Constant. From time immemorial, his people had worshipped a balance between nature's male deities and the goddess, or sacred feminine. But a growing religious turmoil was gripping Rome. 3 centuries earlier, a young Jew named Jesus had come along, preaching love and a single God. Centuries after his crucifixion, Christ's followers had grown exponentially and had started a religious war against the pagans.
In that section they talk about the history of Christianity and how it used to be pagan, but then all these wars started and so they had to get rid of the goddess. They chose Jesus' religion. This might have been chosen because it's a less confusing religion, one God, hence nothing to fight over. The problem is, people did start fighting still.
Jesus was mortal one day and divine the next.
For some Christians, his divinity was enhanced.
That's absurd. There was even a formal announcement of his promotion.
They couldn't even agree on the
Nicene Creed. Excuse me. Who is God? Who is man? How many have been murdered over this question?
As long as there has been one true God, there has been killing in his name.
They started to fight over whether or not Jesus was real or not, because the earlier scriptures described him as just being a man, and then later they sort of turned him into a god. And a lot of people refused this, but at least it was only sort of the Muslims versus the Catholics versus the Christians, and not just all these different religions. That's just getting people confused and causing even more problems. What they do both agree on is that the Holy Grail is actually a woman.
This is the original icon for male. It's a rudimentary phallus. This is called a chalice.
And the chalice resembles a cup or vessel, or more importantly, the shape of a woman's womb. No, the Grail has never been a cup. It is quite literally this ancient symbol of womanhood.
The older guy in that clip believes that there is a Messiah, but the Messiah is actually just going to lead them to the tomb of this person.
The priory's sacred charge was to reveal the heir at the dawn of the new millennium. The millennium came and went, and the living heir remained hidden.
You don't find out right until the end that the living heir is actually this woman, but the priory know about this woman. He's part of the priory. They're all trying to protect her and expose her truth. Only there's a huge amount of confusion in this film because she doesn't know the truth. She doesn't know how to open up this box.
The priory failed the sacred charge.
Why don't you...
No, Robert, no words. On your knees. Do it. Not you, no, my dear, you... You're my miracle, Sophie. You're the guardian of the Grail. All the oppression of the poor and the powerless, of those of different skin, of women, you can put an end to all that. You must explode the truth onto the world. It's your duty. You know the answer to this riddle. Open the cryptex. And I'll put down the gun.
The box there that he's holding is supposed to have like a secret hidden code about who the Grail is. So he believes that this woman is like the protector of the Grail, and he believes that this woman has the knowledge on how to open this box. And this box is supposed to have secret knowledge to where the Grail will be. Only she doesn't know how to open up this box, and she doesn't know what they're talking about because she doesn't even know that she is the descendant of Jesus. Only when they open the box they realise that it doesn't have the secrets. You know, there's a lot of things that just don't make sense in this film. It's really confusing. And while this woman here called Sophie, who happens to be my sister's name, he adopted her when she was 4 years old, believing that when she's older, she will lead him to this tomb that proves that Jesus isn't God. And then once this knowledge has been found and exposed, the church will fall. I think that's what his goal is, but it's really confusing, so maybe I've got it wrong. Honestly, this storyline doesn't make any sense because all he needs to do is just expose that Jesus had a bloodline and this would fall anyway, so why he needs to threaten to kill her unless she opens up this box that has the hidden secrets about where this tomb is. But right at the end when they find this thing, you know, it turns out to be a statue in a grave. You know, what would be the point in finding a statue in a grave? It's like there's two writers. One's writing the film in one direction and the other writer's writing it in another direction. So it's like the author's trying to write about how this old guy is looking for the Holy Grail, who's a woman, but he's actually looking for a tomb of this woman.
It's your duty. You know the answer to this riddle. Open the cryptex. And I'll put down the gun.
But it feels like there's another writer in this, which is making you feel like they should be looking for a woman who's alive on Earth right now.
And in this case, a woman who carried a secret so powerful that if revealed, it would devastate the very foundations of Christianity.
Wait, please. You're saying the Holy Grail is a person? A woman?
And because of this, everyone's just left confused. You know, it's like the film is pointing out the fact that they need to find a woman who's alive on Earth, but they're getting confused and they don't realise that they're looking for a living human being. They think they're looking for something else. It's like there's two writers, which is how I feel with the Bible. I feel like there's two writers, one which is an evil, vile lord that wants to kill everyone, and the other is a lord that wants to just destroy this other lord and proclaim her to be the real Christ. Whoever wrote this hasn't done a very good job of explaining it, but how I understand it is just that this film is actually prophesying that there is a female Messiah to come, and it's not her, it's not a descendant of Jesus, but if you find me, we can work together to end the church, and that's what will happen when you come and expose me and my truth. The truth is not going to be found in old scriptures written by stupid cavemen that didn't know the truth. It's going to be found by someone who can actually talk, a real woman. I'll give you the evidence that I'm God, and we can destroy the church together. The older guy in the film threatens to kill this Sophie girl if she doesn't open up this box.
Open the cryptex. And I'll put down the gun.
This to me symbolises that he doesn't realise how important this girl is, because he wants her to open up this box so that he can get to the Holy Grail. So here he's basically saying that I think the Holy Grail is more important than this woman. But what he doesn't realise is that actually the Holy Grail is the representation of this woman. She's a representation of me, and so he's threatening to kill me unless I help him open up this box. But by threatening to hurt me, who is her in the film, he's actually getting on the wrong side of God. He just thinks that this is the way to the answers. This is what has happened to me. People think that I am the way to the truth, and I am the way to the truth, but people all over the world don't realise how important I am, and so have sacrificed me, just like he was willing to sacrifice her. I believe this film is right. I believe that the Jesus character was inspired by just a normal man that had kids. Only one thing they've missed out is the fact that actually there is a real Christ. The real Christ is a woman. Right at the end, this woman's family comes out of the shadows, and they kind of play it down to make it look like, yeah, she's a descendant, but there's loads of descendants. But this contradicts what the rest of the film says, because the rest of the film says that, you know, there's one descendant, one special Messiah that can lead people into truth. And now you suddenly find out that there's loads. So it's this story that seems to change throughout the film. And so it feels like the writers of the story don't know what they're talking about, and perhaps there's a hidden writer that's just trying to say other things, but the actual writers are trying to say different things. This might have happened because I think the world doesn't want a female Christ. It doesn't want any Messiah. It doesn't want any God. It just wants to take away the power from all religion. My thoughts on why this film was created was that the producers wanted to try and work out how the prophecies in the Bible could come true without it being too unrealistic. You know, the Bible says that the Messiah will come with angels and horses flying out the sky. You know, of course that's not going to come true. And so I think they were trying to figure out a way of making it come true, only making a more realistic version of it, which is just that through DNA you can prove that she's related to Jesus. then it kind of proves that the Bible is real, and not that Jesus will come back, but just that Jesus' bloodline will come back, only it can be proved by science. And in the film they say that the Catholics want to cover this up because they don't want to support science, and they don't want to know the truth. They only want to support their own traditions and wealth within the church and faith. But the people that know about the bloodline want to expose the truth, but in doing so it means that there's now a physical living royal bloodline. And in the film the Catholic Church want to remove this evidence because they don't want to give this group of people, power over them, because if these people can be proved as the real bloodline, it gives them more power than the church. And the church don't want to give their power away. So by having an anonymous Messiah, Jesus, they can talk for Jesus and no one can actually say, oh, Jesus isn't saying this, because Jesus himself is not there. Take, for example, Britain leaving the EU. I'm for Britain leaving EU, but there's many people, priests as well, that would probably want to say, oh no, Jesus loves unity, so Jesus wants us all to stay together. And okay, that's not what I'm saying. I actually say that I support Brexit. And so all the people that don't agree with me will now be against me. The world goes on about how it wants a Messiah, but really it doesn't want a Messiah. Really it wants to make the decisions for itself. And suddenly if there's a Messiah, they can't use the name of God and say, oh, God wants this because there's a Messiah here. And the Messiah can say, no, actually, I'm God and I don't want this. I don't agree with you. And because of this, they don't want a Messiah. They don't want the truth on what the Messiah actually thinks. Might not necessarily be the truth on what's the best decision, but it's still my opinion. But they don't want my opinion. So because of this, the Catholic Church are trying to hide the fact that they're the bloodline. So basically, I like this film. I think there's a lot you can learn from it, but I also think that they've got quite a lot of things wrong and confused. The film also uses evidence that there is a bloodline because they look at the Da Vinci painting of the Last Supper and they see that Jesus and Mary look much better together when they're actually hugging.
My dear, that's Mary Magdalene.
The prostitute?
She was no such thing. Smeared by the church in 591 Anno Domini, poor dear. Mary Magdalene was Jesus' wife.
And they believe that this is a hidden code sent by God indicating that actually Jesus and Mary were married and that they had kids. The thing is, they don't have Jesus' body, so they can't actually detect whether one of his bloodline is actually alive. So the film storyline is actually flawed. And if you could prove that Jesus has living descendants right now, there's two ways people could take it. People could either use it as evidence that Jesus isn't God, because surely his disciples would have written the true story about what his life was really like. The second way it could go is it could give him even more power, because there's now more proof and evidence that he was a real person and existed. If a scientist has a child and you want to cure cancer, do you listen to the child or do you continue looking into the research of the scientist? In my version of the story, however, I'm saying there is a hidden message in the Da Vinci Code, but it's not saying that Jesus and Mary were lovers and that they had a bloodline. But what it's actually pointing at is that Jesus isn't someone of the past, it's someone of the future. And this person of the future has a wife. The marriage at the end of the age is not between him and millions of people, but rather between the Son of God and his wife, the mother, an individual. In the film, they talk about secret documents, about how Mary was supposed to continue the church and how that she was the most beloved out of all the disciples. And they were using this as all evidence that Jesus had a wife and that the woman was actually the one that was supposed to continue the church, which is true. This is true in real life. The Bible is all about a marriage. This is just another story of it, prophecy of the Son of God and the wife, who's actually the mother. The marriage of the mother and the father, the Son of God and God being the mother. That's what the picture's saying. But yeah, this film hasn't got things quite right, but they've got some truth in it, like all the other films. The film is flawed though, because if you can prove that one of Jesus' descendants is still alive, that doesn't actually make the descendant that powerful. More powerful than anyone else in the planet, but not as powerful as God. You need to be able to prove that this person is actually God. If you can't prove that this Messiah is God, then all that will happen is people will just think, oh, you're just a descendant of God, you're nothing special, you're not the Christ, you're just a descendant of Christ. Just because you think women shouldn't have lots of children doesn't mean that's what Jesus thinks. That's what people will think. They won't listen to me, they'll just want to listen to Jesus even more, and Jesus won't be able to talk. Either way, I do love the film, and it has a lot of significance because it does talk about the Holy Grail being a woman, only the film has got some things wrong. They've talked about anagrams and the importance of anagrams, but they didn't realise that the truth about who I am actually lies in anagrams, because anagram is Anna's diagram. The film thought that when the Messiah comes, they'll prove that it's the Messiah through blood and DNA evidence, but that doesn't make him a god. And if it doesn't make him a god, then it means that he's not really the Messiah. Because people will be like, wow, it's a descendant of Jesus. This means that Jesus really was the Messiah. I'm not going to listen to this female girl who's alive. I'm going to listen to Jesus, who is talking to me through spirits, when really he's not talking to anyone. And if the descendant happens to be a blonde, dumb girl, then people think they can easily manipulate this blonde, dumb girl to say whatever they want them to say, but that's not how it's going to work with me. The producers didn't realise that actually this woman would be revealed not through science, but actually through magic. Magic that's seen through anagrams, because the woman's name's called Anna. You know, anagrams, my diagram. The film seems to indicate the fact that they think that the Illuminati are actually on the woman's side, when really the Illuminati are the people who know about me and have just sacrificed me for 3.5 years, so they're not actually on my side. They want to find me and they know about me, but they aren't willing to help me. They're willing to hurt me instead, and just use me for their own gain so that they can get power. I know them being in power is probably better for the world because they're smarter than the church, but at the same time, I'm not happy. Other creators of this film is the creator of Angels and Demons. This has significance because it's all about the Illuminati. Right at the beginning, a pope dies and they need to find a new one. This has significance because right at the time I met Martin, I met him on the 7th of March, and a few days later, on the 13th of March, a new pope was announced.
Thousands are gathered in St. Peter's Square. The new pope is yet to be selected.
We are under attack from an old enemy.
And the enemy that's just come back, I guess, is this it thing that created the dinosaurs.
But what terrifying discovery would make the Vatican turn to him?
That's Illuminati.
The him is Martin, Satan. He's part of the Illuminati. It's a big cabal. Martin's in the music industry. He knows lots of connections, part of Sony. And he was Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson owns half of Sony. I told Martin who he was, and he's passed the information on to others. And so the Illuminati is a big group of people that know a hidden secret about the Christ, about the Messiah. They know that I'm here. They know that I'm in my 3.5 years suffering. Only they're not helping me. They're just ignoring me. They found out that he was the Father, and they worship him, and they're listening to him and not me. Only he's getting his instructions from it, just like in the film Blessed Child.
I need access to the Vatican archives.
Access to the archives is only by written decree by the Holy Father.
Fellas, you called me.
But you know how the story of Jesus is actually a prophecy of someone who's going to come in the future, only people think that it's to do with something that happened in the past, when really it's not. Well, in the same way, this is what's happened with the Illuminati in this film. You know, people are thinking that it's a group that happened in the past.
The Illuminati were a secret society dedicated to scientific truth.
And it might have been. Some people might have known some sort of truth, but they didn't know about the female Christ. The ones who knew about the female Christ, these are the ones that are part of the Illuminati, I would say.
The Catholic Church ordered a brutal massacre to silence them forever. They've come for their revenge.
And it's true that the religious people would love to silence this group because this group is all about the female Christ and the power of sexual feminine power, which is what I approve of, putting down Jesus because he's not the real Christ and proving that I am. And while people that are truly religious and truly do believe in Jesus, well, they're going to want to silence these people. They're going to want to put them down, insult them, call them all sorts of terrible things. I know I do call some of the celebrities sluts and whores, but that's only if they generally deserve it. But a lot of these people, you know, they don't just say that. They say that they're murderers. They say that they're trying to lead people into hell. You know, they say a lot worse things than what I say. It was filmed in 2009, and yet at the beginning it shows loads of events that are happening right now. Like the narrator says that there's changes in the Vatican, and then they show pictures of the Orthodox Church, which is what's happening right now. The Vatican and the Orthodox Church are kind of having meetings together. They also show clips of CERN and the things that they're doing with the collision colliding, and that's happening now. So what happens in the film is that the Illuminati kidnap a group of cardinals and they threaten to kill them and also blow up the whole of the Vatican City. They steal 2 particles from CERN that's believed to have so much power that it will cause a massive explosion, a massive bomb. So in this film, the Illuminati are a group of people that are threatening to blow up the church and blow up the religion, which is what's going to happen in real life. You know, the Illuminati are the celebrities, the singers, the filmmakers. They're all going to work together to destroy all the old religions. The catch is they're not going to do this to help me. They're going to do this to help themselves, because a lot of Christians are against some of their work and saying, oh, it's against God to write films about demons and stuff like this. And well, by destroying the church, I guess they can give more power to themselves. Also by proving that the Christ is giving them messages through their songs and through their films, through all films, not just the Bible, but all fiction films. You know, it gives more power to them. So they're going to be helping me for that reason, not because they actually want to help God or me. They just want to receive the power and blessing that God gives, which is the same thing that the church do, only the church build their evidence up on lies and things that just aren't true, or things that were written thousands of years ago, hence are probably really disturbing and disgusting. It's human nature to do things that benefit yourself, so I guess this is just what everyone does, and I shouldn't criticize people for doing this. But in this film, they've kind of turned the Illuminati into a darker group and have made out that they're going to murder the church by blowing it up. But anyway, the main character goes on a hunt to try and find these cardinals.
This is the first sign.
What sort of sign?
Earth, air, fire, water. And the fifth sign.
May God forgive you for what you've done.
Father, if God has issues, they won't be with what we've done. They'll be with what we're about to do.
Our church is at war.
The church is at war with the Illuminati because once the Illuminati expose me and expose the truth, then the church will fall.
This is the first marker. The path is alive. You're talking about the moment of creation.
Open the doors and tell the world the truth.
At the end of the film, there's this massive explosion that happens, and well, this will happen when the information gets revealed to the world, and the Catholic Church has no choice but to stand in line on my side and say that yes, denounce Jesus, Jesus isn't the Christ, that Anna B is the real name of the Lord. And yeah, Christianity and the Catholic Church will start to fall apart at that point, because they'll be like, wow, if the Vatican says this is the truth, then it must have some weight to it, otherwise they wouldn't do this. Of course, there'll probably be about 1 million Christians that disagree and will be willing to fight and argue over this, but then again, all they'll be doing is just drawing more attention to this event, and people will start to believe even more, because they'll be like, wow, this is the sort of catastrophe that's prophesied in the Bible.
This is it. This is the truth.
Angels and demons.
Dracula 2000 is the next on my list. I love this film.
If true evil cannot die, is there a chance that it can forever be contained?
Correct. For centuries, a secret has been buried beneath the streets of London.
You don't build this kind of security without a gold mine to hide.
Something ageless.
What the hell is that? The Holy Grail, the Golden Fleece, the crown jewels, whatever it is, it's inside.
Something powerful. Something beyond your deepest fears.
What just happened in there?
He is Professor.
Who?
Dracula. Not myth, is real.
It's about when Dracula comes looking for this woman who's supposed to be like his bride or soulmate. This girl's father has been injecting himself with Dracula's blood to make himself live a lot longer, and well, because the father went on to have a kid, Dracula's blood is now also in this girl, and so Dracula feels like compelled to want to be with her, only she doesn't actually turn evil. But in a way, she is a bit like a vampire, and you find this out right at the end. Dracula also has 3 brides.
I don't want to die.
There are worse things than death.
So you haven't told me your name?
We're all so much more complicated than our names.
Just like Eva, and me. All these 4 girls feel really like attracted to this guy, and they can't exactly understand why. So this is kind of similar to me in the sense of this is how I feel towards Martin. The girl's association to Dracula was that she was sort of blood related because of the blood that her father was injecting into himself. And likewise, me and Martin have a blood connection because he was my son. Okay, yes, it was thousands of years ago, but it's still, we're connected by blood a very, very long time ago. There's a subtle but strange thing that happens right at the beginning as well. The girl has lots of nightmares, like I used to have lots of nightmares when I was younger. But then she walks in the street talking with a friend, and you see this picture. One of the first buildings you see, it says Jackson Brewing Company on it. If Martin and Michael Jackson are the same person, well, it's kind of like indicating that Jackson is brewing, as in Jackson is coming to me, which is Martin. In the film starts off by a group of robbers stealing a coffin from a museum thinking that it's full of treasure, when really it's actually got Dracula inside it. But they take this coffin onto a plane, and there's a big plane crash, and well, Aaliyah died in a plane crash, so there's a little bit of connection there. That's also where he made his first bride. The second was made in a swamp, which would have been like Eve. Eve met Adam in like a sort of wildlife landscape. And the third one was made on a bed, which is, I'm hoping, what will happen to us. In the film, the main character works in the virgin shop, and at the beginning she's wearing this t-shirt, so it's kind of like symbolizing that she's the Virgin Mary, and the first words that he says when he comes to her in this scene is, "So you are real?" So in this film, although the overall story isn't really like anything what I'm going through, because vampires don't exist, but there's lots of subtle things. The second reporter that died worked for Channel 13 News, and there's big 13s written all over the van, and while I woke up to see these connections and to know that I'm God in the year 2013, and she's blonde, like me. It's true that some of the connections are more unlikely to be just coincidences than others, but if you add up the number of connections, you would see that, okay, yeah, there's something spiritual about a lot of these films.
We're all so much more complicated than our names.
In the film, they also say that this Dracula has many names, Judas being one of them. And like I say, you know, Michael, Martin, he is Judah, Satan, Abraham, the son of God, Adam, it's the same person. And likewise in the film, they say that he has many names. The next film up is My Super Ex-Girlfriend. I love this film, it's so funny. I'm nothing like the female superhero that this guy meets on a train and wants to date.
Oh, check that out. Uptight librarian on the outside, ready to rumble on the inside. Not my type, but you should go for it.
Hi, I know I don't really know you, but you look like a very interesting person, so if possibly sometime I might maybe buy you a cup of...
No. Ooh, I must be a little nervous.
That's okay. I got a closet full of them. Let me handle this one up.
Let's take care of these.
Okay.
Thank you. Different colored roses mean different things. Red ones mean passion or love. But don't worry, I'm not saying that I think you're telling me that you love me. But maybe someday. Or never. No pressure.
Dude, what's wrong?
My first impression of Jenny was accurate. What's this? She seems a little needy, jealous, controlling.
The trifecta. Perfect.
Sounds like a nutcase.
She's completely crazy, but at the same time, the only reason why she goes crazy is because this guy is trying to dump her, and she is furious at this, and I can feel her anger and frustration in being dumped, because I can relate to that, as that is what's happened to me.
You say, sweetheart, I think we just need to take a little time off from the relationship to
re-examine where this is going.
Are you breaking up with me?
No!
You are breaking up with me. You are so gonna regret this.
Don't worry about that. They always say that.
Oh, no.
This summer, if you thought breaking up was hard,
You rat!
I got your back!
try breaking up with a superhero.
And like the superhero in the film, I seem to be going a bit over the top when it comes to trying to impress him and texting him and not letting go, ...
Don't let go. Where's my car?
You are headed for some serious trouble.
Yeah.
Martin did break up with me. I don't know if he had this much difficulty trying to break up with me, but you have to ask him. Although this is how I feel, because I know he'll come back to me.
I had a feeling that you'd realize your mistake and come back to me. That's why I didn't kill you.
Anyway, in the film, how they work this out is that they realise that this woman, this crazy woman, actually likes someone else who's kind of like the Dr. Evil version of this. He's kind of like the Satan character, the evil character, only the only reason why he's evil is because he's missing her. And when these two gets back together again, you know, they both feel happier and less pissed off with each other and less pissed off with the world. Also, this other couple, this blonde girl, she gets infected by the power, the same power that made the superwoman have her powers, and so now there's two superwomen. Only this woman's a bit more sane. The Never-Ending Story is the next one I want to talk about. It has huge significance. It's about a little boy who's getting bullied, and then he goes into a bookshop and finds this book, but it's like a magical book.
This book is not for you.
This is kind of like the Bible, in the sense that it has some prophecies and some things that are truthful in it. Anyway, he reads this book and the story comes to life, and in the story, this world is getting torn apart by the nothing.
I know why you are all here. The nothing is destroying our world.
Which is a bit like what's happening here, you know. The world is getting torn up by religion and the lies of it. It's like the nothing, the fear of a God that doesn't exist. And it's tearing the world apart, which is exactly what's happening in the film.
And there just might be one chance. His name is Atreyu. You would be willing to go on a quest? It will be very dangerous. But if you fail, the Empress will surely die, and our whole world will be utterly destroyed.
In this Neverworld, there's like a princess as well, the childlike princess. I've always associated myself as being similar to her because I love the whole staying youthful in mind and stuff. But anyway, she's like the wise one, only she's dying, she's ill, and she has to remain in a bed because of this illness. And this is kind of what's happened to me. And I feel like Martin's the one that's been reading the book and doing things about me behind my back, making the celebrities do things, making the story come alive. Right at the end, the only way you can save the princess is by giving her a new name. Okay, I'm not getting a new name, but if you think that Jesus has been the name of the Lord for a long time, you know, it's the wrong name. I need a new name, and Annabelle is the new name. And so all this boy, all Martin needs to do is say my name and tell the world, and things will get better. The problem is he never does. The next film I want to mention is Stardust. It's a really good film. I've only just seen it in the last few years. It's all about sort of love and romance, and it's also got a fairy tale kind of story in it.
I have a surprise for you. Victoria, for your hand in marriage, I'd cross oceans.
You're funny, Tristan.
But anyway, in the film, the star comes to Earth.
Oh, Tristan, a shooting star!
I'd cross the wall and I'd bring you back that fallen star.
You can't cross the wall. Nobody crosses the wall.
But when he finds the star, it turns out to be a person, a blonde girl.
Excuse me, have you seen a fallen star anywhere? We're in a crater. This must be where it fell.
Yeah, this is where I fell.
You're the star. You're the star? Really? Oh, wow.
And I guess in a way I feel like she's me in a way, because I have evidence that I'm like from a different realm and I'm kind of different to everyone else in the sense that they don't have this curse on them and they aren't the ones that are kind of inspiring lots of different films.
I know what you are.
The catch is, after the boy finds this girl, even though he knows that she's a person, he still doesn't really have that much respect for her. Like, all he does is just sort of chain her up and say, come with me, I'm giving you to my girlfriend. And, you know, he acts very like, you're a star, I don't really care kind of way. Because he wants to impress this girl by giving her a star, but the star happens to be a person, and still he doesn't care about the person. He's only thinking about trying to impress this girl that doesn't really like him. The main guy of the film is a bit of a fool, I guess. You know, that's not how relationships should work. And this is a bit like how Martin's reacted towards me, like not in a kind way. He's not a bad person, but at the same time he's just thinking of other things. He's not thinking about what the girl actually wants. He's thinking about his own needs and his own needs to impress his girlfriend, even though the girlfriend doesn't actually like him. The boy's girlfriend doesn't really like him, and well, I don't really like Martin because of what he's doing to me. In the film, there's also other people that want to kill this girl.
Everyone's talking about a fallen star.
Enough.
Where's the girl? You have seconds to live.
There's some witches that want to just use her heart.
When I find her, the glory of our youth shall be restored.
Which is what I feel is another thing that's happening to me, like the person that put this curse on me, it feels like that person is just using me to help others whilst not actually considering how I would feel this whole time. You know, I don't want to have my heart ripped out, but the people that are doing this to me don't seem to care. In the film, the witches are actually doing it to try and regain their youth. And while I feel like perhaps me in spirit is trying to just use me as a mortal to try and give power to herself, you know, by getting the world to believe in one god that's female, a feminine soul. I believe I would put myself through some torture to do that, but not as much as what I've gone through. So I don't know really what's gone wrong. In the film, everyone has turned against the star.
This is the part where you tell me who you are and why you're up here.
We're just trying to make our way home.
No one seems to care about what she wants. No one seems to care about her. And I feel like this is what's happened in real life. No one, including my partner, doesn't actually care about me. Although it's not just me, you know, I think people just don't care about anyone else in general.
Touché.
You'd better be telling the truth, you two-faced dog.
People think about themselves. And so when people die in this film, people don't seem to really care. Or when someone's enslaved and turned into a servant, you know, people don't really care. This whole world that's been created is not very nice, but then I think it's kind of a reflection on just how horrible Earth is as well. You know, most fairy tales are kind of evil and gross, and well, this is no different from them. But it is a good film, and it has a lot of imagination and stuff like that.
You've seen stories of magical worlds, wicked witches, flying pirates, and dashing princes. But never has there been an adventure quite like this.
Now we shall begin.
In the film, there's also this servant girl slave who was a princess and who's captured, and she's now just a slave of one of the witches. This is another interpretation of how I feel. And this slave also happens to be the mother of this boy, and so that's even more association to what I'm going through, because I'm the mother of Martin, because in my past life I was Eve and he was my son back then.
Get him.
It's just you and me now.
Not for long.
Hold me tight and think of home.
I do like the film, but it is very heartless and cold, because people are just turned into animals and people don't really care, and I think people, when they watch this, wouldn't really care either. But I think if you can recognise it as being quite a heartless film, I think it can make you a better person, because you can realise, oh shit, you know, if this was real, if this happened in real life, this would be really, really bad. And you can gain a heart by recognising the evils that are just sort of carelessly dismissed in this film. Next up is Species. It's about this group of scientists who receive data from another world about how to create a new species.
In January, a message from an extraterrestrial source was picked up at the Parkes Observatory in Australia. A new sequence of DNA, friendly instructions on how to combine it with ours.
This growth is amazing.
They try it, they do create a new species, but it's this girl.
The decision was made to terminate the experiment.
She's breaking out!
She escaped. We have a serious emergency on our hands.
She breaks out and they have to go and try and kill her because they don't know what she is, who she is.
I want a team to track her. Hunt her down.
You created a monster, now you want us to kill it.
If she's dangerous, she probably is dangerous because she's a predator. Her goal is to both live and have kids, even if it means killing people to make her goal come true. There's some obvious connections with me because she's blonde and my age.
We decided to make it female so that it would be more docile and controllable.
More docile and controllable, huh? I guess you guys don't get out much.
The majority of the film is just about these people going to try and kill her. And, well, I feel like people have been trying to kill me for the last 3.5 years by putting me through this great ordeal of sacrifice. And the bit where she says, I won't hurt you, and then the woman replies, yes you would, you just don't know it yet, you know.
I wouldn't hurt you. Yes, you would. You just don't know it yet.
I really relate a lot to that sentence because there's so many people that would say that they love Christ and say that they would help her and they wouldn't hurt her, but at the same time they wouldn't, you know, they would reject me, they would push me away, they would deny me, they would call me crazy, they would try and hurt me and say that, oh, I'm just vain and selfish. It's not all about you. And, you know, billions of people all over the world would think badly of me if I told them that I was the Christ and tried to give them the evidence. You know, they'd just be like, oh, you're just saying this because you want power and you want glory and stuff like this. But yet when Jesus comes, you know, that's what Jesus is supposed to do. He's supposed to come to gain power and glory. They worship him because this is what he claims to want. And they think, oh, wow, he wants this, he wants that, we must love him. But yet when someone actually comes and says that, yes, I'm the Christ, and tries to give evidence, they're just like, oh, you just want power and glory. It's like, yeah, that's what Jesus said that he wants. So why would you love him because he wants power and glory and claims in the Bible that that's what he's going to get at the end of the age, and yet you'd hate me when I say that I want the exact same thing? Because they'll be like, oh, well, you're not Jesus. It's like, well, if you are not worshipping me, then you're not worshipping the right Christ. But they don't care about that. They just want Jesus because he promises to give them a crown too. Of course, though, there's a catch, because the crown actually belongs to the Bride of Christ, and the Bride of Christ is not them, it's me. But, you know, they don't want that version. If I told them who the real Bride of Christ is, they would turn against me and hate me because they don't want Christ. They don't want a Messiah, even though they say they do. And there's lots of people that would gladly let me suffer so that they can gain wealth out of me. You know, there's loads and loads of people that would let someone else suffer so that they can gain profit from it. In the film, this woman is like a messiah, I guess, because she's different. Her blood was made from information from a different realm, which is similar to what happened to Eve. Her blood was changed so that humans could form from her children. But instead of trying to, be her friend, instead of trying to give her a good life, introduce her to the world, try and make her a better person, instead they just imprison her, capture her, in a form torture her, and when they think it's getting too out of control, they try and kill her. This is what they're going to do to the Messiah when she comes. Her creator is an old, boldest guy. He does seem to care because he showed a tear when she was about to die at the beginning. But he should have actually been like, wait though, why can't we actually talk to her? Find out what she wants, rather than just be afraid of her. He feels more like the Martin kind of character because this is what Martin did to me. Didn't talk to me. I met him for a few days and then he just cast me off and didn't want to know anything more, and it was horrible. It felt like he was upset about what was about to happen to me, but it felt like he was glad also that it was about to happen to me and not him. It felt like he felt the same way that the creator felt in this film, which is just that I'm sad that she's going to die, but at the same time it has to happen because we don't know what's going to happen if we don't kill her. I think if you watch this film and imagine that I'm this blonde woman, you can kind of understand why I might hate you guys so much, because I feel like you have just been trying to kill me for the last 3.5 years and you haven't really cared about what I was going to go through. You just saw me as something different and didn't care then about my feelings or how I would feel being chased by you. In the film, all the alien wants is a partner so she can have kids.
She wants to have a baby. She'll kill anyone that gets in her way.
I did want kids, but after being in this world for so long, I really don't want kids here. I think having kids in this world would just be a really cruel thing to do, because all you'll do is cause a living life to go through a huge amount of suffering, because that's all people do here. They suffer, they don't care about others, there's a huge amount of rules, the poor are just trying to sue the rich so they can get money off them, and there's so much corruption in this world that just having kids here is just horrible. And I think about all the people that are like, I must have a kid because this is what God wants me to do. God wants me to have kids so I can pollute the world with even more babies, even though there's millions already existing. Because this is what God wants. Even hearing people say that is just so annoying, because it's like, you don't know me. You've never spoken to me, so how do you know what I want? Or if you're talking about the thing that helped create the dinosaurs, it created dinosaurs for millions of years. It doesn't care about humans, okay? Why would you think that something that created dinosaurs for millions of years really wants humans to have babies? I don't want kids, but at the same time, I am female, I do have a maternal instinct, and so I would like kids, providing I can make them more like me and less like you. Hence, kind of like creating a new species, which is what the film is called, Species. Only they have turned this woman into an evil character rather than a good character. But then that's kind of typical, even the Bible turns the mother into a bad character.
She could have a dozen babies. She could lay 1,000 eggs.
Something's wrong.
I'm Eve, so technically you're too late. But if you want to kill my children, all you need to do is shoot yourself.
She's here! Get out of there! Open the damn door! Hey!
Oh, God.
The next film I want to talk about is Jawbreaker. I love this film. It's kind of like the Four Horsemen type characters. The girl who plays the fourth Charmed sister in Charmed, she's almost like the fourth horseman representation.
Courtney was the leader.
All right, girls, out!
She was like Satan in heels, and Marcy was her henchman.
The bitch of the group, I guess. The one that has all the power.
All right, bitches, out! Move it! Move it! That means you too, Gusher. It's beauty time.
And in my next life, the fourth one, the fourth me, she will have the most amount of power. The blonde girl is the same girl that plays Darla in Buffy, and she's the sort of Eve character.
Marcy was her henchman.
I don't think we've met, what with the cruel politics of high school and all.
Julie's the one that I feel more associated to, more connected to. There's 4 girls.
You should have seen the 4 of them. People worshipped them and cursed them, but everybody wanted to be them.
But 3 of the girls play a prank on one of the girls.
At a school like Reagan High, being the teen dream can be a little hard to swallow.
She ends up dying as a result. She's like the perfect one.
It is with deep dismay that I inform you that Elizabeth Purr...
I heard she choked on a jawbreaker.
That is so cool.
I guess this is kind of like the Aaliyah character. At the beginning, they describe this girl as being like perfect. Everyone wants to be like her, pretty, young, rich, popular, which are all things that Aaliyah was. The leader of the group, however, is kind of heartless and cold.
Are you Courtney Alice Shane?
Maybe. And thinks that it would be a good idea to make her look like she was raped and murdered, but make her look even worse than that, but make her look like she was out looking for someone to go and have hard sex with. The others are kind of shocked at the idea because she was kind of seen as perfect, e.g. not the type of person that would just go and sleep with strangers, but she didn't mind like tainting her image, and I feel like this is what happens in the Bible. You know, you turn Babylon the Great into a whore, even though she's not.
Learn it.
Yes, I'm a masseuse, but I'm not a prostitute or as bad as what they make out that I am in the Bible. And so what the leader of this group has done to this girl, who she's killed, is exactly what the author of the Bible has done to me.
She's so evil. And she's only in high school.
And Julie, who's a little bit more like me, although she really did like her friends before, she really can't stay friends with them any longer because she feels really bad about what's happened.
It's over, Courtney. I am petrified.
And she doesn't want to hang out with them any longer. I guess I can relate to that. I feel like there's 4 me's, 4 horsemen. Only when I found out about Aaliyah, I felt really bad because I was her, and I felt like my life was stolen because of this, and it was replaced with some really crappy life that I don't want. And so I just kind of realized how serious the situation was about what I'm going through, and I didn't really want to have anything to do with what was happening to me, but I kind of had no choice.
Jawbreaker.
Our best friend is dead.
Do you have any idea what that means?
You were shooing for prom queen?
I love this film. It's one of my top 10. But like in Species, these characters have all been made to look kind of bad. But I like it. And then they go and take this other girl, who's kind of unpopular, a bit of a loser, I guess.
Do you know a senior named Elizabeth Purr?
You mean meow?
Excuse me?
Liz is the cat's meow.
Well, she gets asked to go and drop off Elizabeth's homework. When she goes to the girl's house, she sees her dead lying on the bed, and she sees the other 3 girls trying to cover it up.
May I introduce Marcy Fox? Foxy.
And well, they say in return for her silence, they'll make her popular.
Do you smell something? Hi, Fern. I don't know a fern. There is no fern. It's Violet.
What? My name's Violet.
Learn it.
Live it.
Love it. Ladies?
Only the power goes to this girl's head and she gets a bit out of control.
What the fuck are you doing?
Exactly what you taught me.
I taught you to disrespect us?
You taught me to rule.
That's right. Rule, bitch. But don't forget who made you.
I'm not like this girl, but at the same time I can relate to her in the sense that I wasn't that popular. I was more the quiet girl at school. I've never really had any fame or success, and I feel like when I found out that I was Eve, Adala, or Leah, when I found out about the 4 horsemen, you know, I felt more powerful. I felt like a new person, just in the same way that these girls made Fern turn into Violet, a new person. I felt like my life was going to get better, like finally I was going to have the attention that I'd always wanted, only it didn't happen, and instead I feel just publicly humiliated, which is what happened to this girl in the end.
It's over, bitch.
She was making herself out to be a new girl, and when the power got to her head, they then put pictures of what she looked like before. They put these pictures up all over the school so that people could see who she really was, the old geeky nerd that everyone kind of looked down on.
What a fucking tearjerker. Look, Mars, it's like Terms of Endearment Part 3, only this time the boyfriend's gay.
Yeah, and the rest of the cast sucks. Who the fuck are you?
And she was humiliated. And this is what's going to happen to me, you know. Before this, I was kind of a nobody, forced to do massage, no real life, no real job, no real friends, no real support from family. And I felt like when people found out that I was the Messiah, you know, people were on my side, and I felt like I could forget about the past, but I couldn't, because they were just bullying me. And I couldn't see that because I had no idea that they were going to ignore me for 3.5 years. And I didn't see that, and I feel like I want revenge. And I think by telling them who I really am and the crappy life that I've actually had, you know, I think only then can people realize how horrible the whole experience has been for me. You know, I don't want to do massage, but I do massage. This is my form of living, and a lot of these guys, you know, they come to me asking dodgy requests. I get a lot of people calling me up asking if I do sex, and a lot of people try to grab my ass and do all this stuff, and you know, it's not what I want. This is just an example of how disgusting the average guy is, you know, that they want these sort of things from strangers who don't even like them. And this is the life that I live. And then I've got people on top of this knowing that I'm actually better than what I am, but they're not helping me. Instead, I feel humiliated because I'm getting exposed for what I actually am, a masseuse who works from home illegally because I can't get any other job.
What? Life's a bitch, then you die. No, honey, you're the bitch. Oh.
And anyway, both this girl and the girl who's upset about her friend being killed, they want to play a prank on the leader, the one that put the jawbreaker inside the girl's mouth. That's how this girl died. How they manage to expose the truth is they get a tape recording of her saying that she did it, and then they expose it in front of the whole assembly at the end, and this girl throws a tantrum and runs out, and the whole school is just screaming at her saying, "You did this, I hate you." And so,
can you say freak?
Comes the battle between the babes.
She's so evil.
this, I think, is what might happen at the end of the age when I'm exposed.
Now,
I'm Detective Vera Cruz.
One detective will try to find the face that fits the facts.
A lot of people have done terrible things against me. Not just singers, but religious people. A lot of priests would say horrible things about Jezebel, Babylon, when really they don't know anything about me. And the author that's inspired the Bible is pretty much part of the cause of it.
I can't believe this. I am looking after us. I am saving your ass, and you shit on me. Go to hell, Courtney.
And so when you expose the evil that lies in the Bible, you also expose the hatred that people have towards me. To get people to see the true hatred that lies inside them, you first need to expose Babylon and say, actually, this is Babylon, she's a nice person, and then people will go back on all the things that they've said about this person, and they'll realize what horrible people they are for saying horrible things about Babylon without actually knowing about what she's like. And even when people found out who I was, they still did loads of terrible things about me without sort of contacting me or giving me any kind of reward or payment. And there'll be a big shockwave because people will be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is real. I can't believe that God is real and stuff like that.
Liz is the cat's meow.